Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, May the 7th, year 2014. This is show number 1007. I'm your host, Shawn King. Thank you guys very much for joining us. As always, whether you're listening in live or via the archive, I always appreciate you guys being tuned in to the show. On tonight's show, he's back. Our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com is back on the show tonight. He's been off in Ireland for the last couple of weeks. He's been in Ireland and Scotland, hanging out with the folks at the OOL conference. We'll talk to him about that. We'll talk to him about what Ireland and Scotland was like. It seemed, watching his Twitter feed, he seemed to enjoy himself. And then we're going to talk about, in our starting point photography segment, talking about Photowalks and what a photo walk is and how you can get involved and what you can expect and all kinds of things like that. So that'll be coming up a little bit later on. Just saw in the IRC chat room, by the way, IRC, as always, is, if you go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com, right there below the video, is an IRC channel that our friend Monty set up for us. It's easy to get into. You just put your name and a password in there, and boom, you get dropped into the regular IRC. If you are a traditional IRC-ist, IRC-type person, you can join us. We're in the pound Your Mac Life channel, and the server is chat-IRC, geez, I get this wrong, irc.chat-solutions.org. Sherry in the IRC chat room was saying that she got carded a couple weeks ago. It was very exciting. you youngsters out there don't know how much joy that gives you later in life when you're of a certain age and someone asks you for ID. But the worst thing is when you see a sign somewhere and the sign says, "We card everyone, no exceptions," and then they don't card you. It's just that's the worst feeling in the world. "We card everyone." No, sir, you go ahead. You're old. You're obviously old, so that sucks. This is interesting. This has nothing to do with anything, but I saw this story. Dave Callow in Massachusetts. He writes for TUAW. I just want to get you guys' opinion before we invite Jim Dalrymple on the show. Just get your thoughts. Dave said Donald Sterling, you know, that idiot owner for the Los Angeles Lakers that got himself turfed out of the NBA for being an asshat recently. Dave Callow has something very interesting. He says, Donald Sterling is undoubtedly a world-class a-hole, but should a person lose his job over something he says to his girlfriend in private? That's an interesting point of view, Dave. I hadn't thought of it that way. I mean, this guy was secretly taped. I don't think we still know how or why his girlfriend taped him, or who taped him for that matter. But should he be fired because of something he said privately? And again, he's a known a-hole. This guy has been up on discrimination charges by housing authorities in California, and he said other things and blah, blah, blah. But for this thing, should he have been fired? I don't think he should have been fired for this thing. He should have been fired a long time ago, is what I'm saying. This was the straw that broke the camel's back. But it's interesting that nowadays, and we've seen this a couple times with various issues in Silicon Valley, where folks have been fired for utterances, both public and private, that may or may not have anything to do with the company they have. It's kind of a slippery slope that we may be stepping onto when we start holding people publicly accountable for private statements. Something to think about. Speaking of, this is a lousy segue, so I'm not going to try. For those folks who are into photography, I just saw this deal pop up on Amazon, and I wrote about it on the startingpointphotography.com website. If you are looking for an SLR, and a good SLR, Nikon and Canon both make, and Olympus and Panasonic and a bunch of other companies, both make really good beginner SLRs. And one of the top of the heap ones for years has been the Canon EOS Rebel. It's been in various iterations. You've seen the commercials years ago with Andre Agassi and things like that. But they've got the Canon Rebel for $400, and that's a really good price for a really good beginner SLR. So if you're thinking about moving up from your iPhone or your point and shoot, give that a thought. Give that, you can get it at Amazon, or B&H Video down in New York City has also got a deal, same price, but they throw in a camera bag and a SD card. If you want to get more information on that, you can go to the website at startingpointphotography.com. I encourage you to go to that site anyway, because we've got a whole bunch of other stuff there for you people who are interested in photography. I was mentioning it earlier in the pre-show too. As I'm getting more and more used to using Facebook, I'm opening up Facebook a lot more. We've got a bunch of Facebook pages, not a bunch, we've got several Facebook pages. You can do a search on Facebook for My Best Pick Of, which is a fun site. I'm really enjoying watching folks post their best pictures of whatever it might be, whether it's a picture of the kids or of just random occurrences in their life. Definitely check it out, My Best Pick Of. Do a search for that on Facebook. We've also, I'll post the URL to that in the IRC chat room if you guys want to get into that. You also check out the Starting Point Photography page. Again, do a search for Starting Point Photography on Facebook, and it should pop up, and you can see some of the things that I'm doing there with regards to Facebook and Starting Point Photography. The website is the primary, startingpointphotography.com is the primary place, and a lot of these things are just going to be teasers to the full Starting Point Photography website. As I mentioned earlier, for those folks who are tuned in to the pre-show, we've got a class this coming Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Now, I know Saturday afternoon you guys may not be able to make it, but if you can, we've got 3 folks in the class already, and we've got room for 2 more. The classes will never be more than 5 people. Remember, it's a Google Hangout where you can watch me do the presentation, about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, on the 10 beginning tips and tricks that I can teach you to make your next photograph better than your last photograph. And it's with any camera. It doesn't matter whether you have an iPhone or a point and shoot or an SLR, whatever kind of camera you got, you can learn stuff from this class. So send me an email if you want more details, or go to the website startingpointphotography.com to get more details on what the class is offering. As always, we encourage you guys to go to the website, to yourmaclifeshow.com. If you're on Facebook, we again have a Facebook page. Do a search for Your Mac Life, and the Facebook page should pop up for you guys. That's where we do, again, it's a tease for the main section of the website, but you can go there and check out what we're doing on the website. But if you go to the website at yourmaclifeshow.com, right now you'll watch the video of the show. You'll be able to see the YouTube video of the show right there. You can also join the IRC chat room. It's right there at the bottom. You can subscribe to Your Mac Life at $2, $5, $10, $15 a month, whatever you choose to do. You can subscribe to the website, and that enters you into the Friends of YML contest. The contests have been on hold now for a bit as I get more folks signing up. Sorry, as I get more people to give prizes away. We did a whole whack of prizes back on the anniversary show on March 19th, and we're going to start doing that again. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll get some more prizes out for you guys. So if you subscribe to Your Mac Life, you get extra prize tickets. If you go to the website, the top of the page, it says Friends of Your Mac Life entry form. You fill out that entry form, you will get 1 entry into the prize draw. But if you're a subscriber, you get additional entries. And for every $2 above the initial subscription price, you get an extra entry form. So the more you subscribe, the more you donate, the more entry forms you get, the more chances you have of winning. Also, the Amazon.com link is there too. So if you're doing your shopping for graduation or birthdays or anything else like that, check out the Amazon.com link, because once you go through that link, anything you buy on Amazon.com, Your Mac Life gets a bit of a kickback from. So we'd appreciate, well, I'm being honest, we'll appreciate quick kickbacks. It doesn't add up to a whole lot, but it's nice. There's just nice stuff there to check out. Well, we might as well get him on now. I see Jim Dalrymple from The Loop on loopinsight.com has joined us in the chat room. So let me just switch my headphone ports. Hang on a second, Jim. Now I should be able to hear. Let me just make sure I get this all right. Okay, now I'm trying to get show in broadcast and Jim.
Hey.
Jim unmuted. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you?
I am not too bad. You had a good week so far?
I don't know.
You all just got back from a long trip. You guys were in Ireland and Scotland for 2 weeks, weren't you?
Yeah. I get back Monday.
Did you have to? You can't fly direct from Halifax, can you? You have to go to Toronto.
Yeah, no, Halifax.
Oh, good. Well, that's good because I remember back in the days when I was trying to bum through Europe, and you wanted to go to Europe, you had to basically go backwards to Toronto before you go forwards to Europe.
Yeah, yeah. Now you can fly directly to Dublin or London
Okay, cool. So explain to the audience why you were over there in Ireland.
to get away. I
Well,
went,
you
I went,
weren't getting away. You brought Monique with you.
yeah, that's right. I went to the ULConf, which is an Irish conference for developers and designers and whoever else wants to go. I mean, it's a great conference. So I went over there and spoke at the conference, and then Monique and I took off for Scotland for 4 or 5 days.
What did you speak at the conference? What was your subject?
Oh, it was storytelling with music.
Oh, cool.
So, just kind of the same as writing, but different.
How is it the same as writing? I hadn't thought of it that way before, but how is it the same as writing?
Well, I can't write lyrics to save my life, but I write all day long. So I write, but I can't write lyrics.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I would have thought that if you were a writer, then you would write. You
would think so.
Yeah, I didn't realize there'd be a difference. Is it the, for lack of a better term, the lyrical nature of lyrics, or is it a completely different style of thinking?
I think it's a different style of thinking. I just can't get my head around it. I try, but my lyrics sound really, really terrible. They just sound, like I woke up in the morning and I walked down to a tree, and it's just awful. Yeah,
don't write that song. Let me give you a little hint. Don't write that song.
Yeah.
Do you think it's true? Do you think it's true the other way around, that lyricists may not be able to write prose?
Well, I know some musicians that are great songwriters, and they can't write for crap. So. Terrible writers.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way. So now, which part of Ireland were you in? Northern Ireland or Ireland?
I was in Ireland, Kilkenny.
And where is that?
Kilkenny is about halfway between Dublin and Cork.
Okay.
So Monique and I flew to. So Monique says that she didn't want to fly into Dublin because we've already flown into Dublin a couple of times. So she wants to fly into Cork.
Okay.
So okay, fine, we'll go to Cork. So I go to the airport, and we're boarding a flight to London.
That seems wrong.
London. She said, "Well, yeah, we got to fly to London and then take another plane and go to Cork." So I said, "We're going to fly all the way over and then fly halfway back."
Yeah.
So we did that.
It's a typical guy thing. Married guy is like, okay, fine, whatever.
So then we get to Cork, and the train system over there is incredible.
Yeah.
But no train to Kilkenny from Cork. The train goes from Cork to Dublin and then back to Kilkenny. So we had to take a bus. So she said she researched it. It's a 2-hour bus ride from Cork to Kilkenny.
Mm-hmm.
So sure enough, 2 hours into this, now the roads are like 3 feet wide, and you've got this big bus, and we get partway. Well, we're 2 hours in, and the bus stops. So okay, here we are. How do you get to downtown Kilkenny?
No.
We're only halfway to Kilkenny. We're just stopping for a break. So yeah, after a 4-hour bus ride, we finally made it to Kilkenny. But it was a beautiful town.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And the estate that we stayed in a hotel called Zuni. Which is just a fabulous hotel, a small hotel. They only had 13 rooms.
Wow.
But first class service, and they had a Michelin star restaurant in there. Yeah, I mean, we had a meal there one night, and it was just fabulous.
Now, you had some remarkable amount of Heineken, not amounts, but a remarkable number of Heineken things sent to you. Explain the keg. Someone sent you 2 kegs of Heineken, 2 pony kegs of Heineken?
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, so we checked into the hotel, and there were 2 kegs of Heineken waiting for me. So we checked in earlier in the day before everybody else got there. By the time they got there, 1 keg was gone.
And these are 4-liter kegs, folks, just to let you know.
Yeah, 1 keg was gone then, so yeah, it was good.
And then I see on your Twitter feed you had a bottle of Heineken with your name on it. What the hell is that all about?
Yeah, Mike Lee and Judy, they got a bottle of Heineken with my name on it. I didn't even know. I pulled it out of a case, and it's like this bottle of Heineken.
Yeah.
And they said, yeah, check the bottle. So I looked, and wow, it's got my name on it.
That's kind of cool.
It was cool.
That is very cool.
Let's see Bacardi do that.
Yeah, no kidding. Now the UL conference is this is the 3rd one, I think, right?
Yep.
Is it primarily Irish developers or is it European developers? Give us a sense of
people from all over the world.
Is it? Yeah.
Actually, very few Irish people. Mm-hmm. But yeah, the speakers from all over. I mean, Dan Pasco was there from Black Pixel, and people from Spotify were there, and attendees. There were all kinds of great people there. Yeah.
Good to hear. Let's talk a little bit about. I don't know if it's big news, but it's interesting news. Even if it's a little inside baseball. I know she's a friend of yours, and I know her too. Katie Cotton is leaving Apple. Katie was if you ever saw a wide shot of Steve Jobs, somewhere within arm's reach of Jobs was always going to be Katie Cotton. Yeah, whenever I saw a picture of Jobs, I always looked for Katie because she was always somewhere around. Tell me about your interactions with Katie.
Well, most of my interactions were with people below Katie, but Katie is, she's been a friend for a lot of years. A lot of years.
Yeah.
And Katie's always been fair with me and good, so I've never had any problem with her. I've always liked her.
One of the problems is Apple used that what we in the industry think of as being code, spending time with family, to make it sound. This is what they always use when someone's getting fired. Scott Forstall was spending more time with family. Steve Ballmer spending more time with family. It's always been code in the industry for, we just kicked your ass out. That's not true in this regard for Katie, is it?
No. Katie could have stayed as long as she wants.
No.
And
if only because Katie knows where all the skeletons are.
She was impressive. She was there a long time. She handled PR for Apple, and when you think of some of the things that she's been through in dealing with PR at Apple, man, that's a lot of stuff.
That being said, though, I mean, she's been there for 18 years. I think she moved into the business. She's been at Apple for 18 years. I think she's took over this particular job about 10 or 11 years ago. I remember when it was announced. But it was when Apple took their PR from the outside agencies and brought it in-house, and Katie became the boss of that area. But it can be easily argued that Apple's PR is not very communicative, and that is Katie's purview. It's Apple not being communicative was her job. Now, whether that job was passed down to her from Steve Jobs, or that directive was passed down to her from Steve Jobs, Apple PR was notoriously difficult to get traditional PR stuff out of her, aren't they?
Well, I think for a lot of people they were, and yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, the job of the PR company is to manage how the perception of the company and manage product launches and stuff like that. And Apple did it in their own way. And when you look at it, it worked.
It's got to be said that she could not have had an easy job with every micro blogger in the planet wanting to interview Steve Jobs and Tim Cook.
Well, I mean, look at Samsung. Pays people to post stuff.
Yeah.
Apple just has to twitch, and everybody's writing about it. You know, so
do you have any funny stories of dealing with Katie?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? Of all the things I've been reading today, I may have the only funny story of dealing with Katie. Katie was at the original iPhone launch in New York City, and I was there with Macworld. Macworld had hired me to write a story on the event and do a video and that kind of stuff. And at one point, Katie is standing there, just sort of standing around, and she was directly under the Big Apple logo of the Cube on Fifth Avenue, and it was a great shot. I said, Katie, let me take your picture. And she was like gone kind of shy. I went, no, come on, Katie. And I knew Katie. I'd spoken to her many times and knew who Katie was. And so I asked her if I could take a picture of her with this logo underneath her. And she had a big smile on her face. She was in a good mood. She was having a good day. It was a good day for Apple. And so she said, okay, sure. And so she did a couple of poses for me. Nothing spectacular, but she did a couple of poses for me. And I jokingly said to her, I said, and this was back in the days when this was popular, I'm going to send this. This is a great picture of you. I'm going to send it to fake Steve Jobs. And she said, oh, you can't do that. You can't send it to fake Steve Jobs. I said, yeah, I know fake Steve Jobs. And at this time, I did in fact know who fake Steve Jobs was. I knew it was. I brain cramped on his name. I don't know who the guy's name is anymore. But anyway, I actually knew because Dan
Lyons.
Dan Lyons. That's it. Thank you. I mean, he's become such a non-entity now. I've completely forgotten his name. But Dan had like 6 months before had written to me, and we had talked on the phone. He was asking me for advice about some stuff, and I said, Katie, I guarantee that this will be in the next fake Steve Jobs post. And she was like, oh, bullshit. That's not going to happen. So I go home that night. I send the picture to Dan Lyons, fake Steve Jobs. I said, dude, you got to post this because you'll make me look really good in front of Katie. So he writes up some typical fake Steve Jobs post about whatever and uses that picture of Katie Cotton. I get a phone call from her like 35 seconds later, and I can't tell on the phone whether she means it or not. She's like, take that picture down! Take that picture down! It's like, why? Steve's pissed! I was like, what do you mean Steve's pissed? I said, what do you mean Steve's pissed? He hates seeing these pictures on fake Steve Jobs. Like, Katie, I don't run the website. I can't take the picture down. She says, you have to. I said, Katie, I can't take the picture down. And so she was just like all up in arms over the fact that I, called her bluff and actually knew who fake Steve Jobs was, but actually got the picture posted up on the website.
See, you're just causing trouble.
Exactly. I mean, and she knew that. She should have known. She's known me long enough. She knows that I'm just a natural shit disturber. There's no way you can challenge me on stuff like that and not expect me to do something about it. Come on. It's not fair. Who do you think will take over? Oh, here we go. Here's the picture of. Let me see if I can get it up on the website. Here's the picture I took of Katie. And you can actually go to the fake Steve Jobs website and do a search for Katie Cotton, and this picture comes up. And it says, thanks to Shawn on the site. So that's the picture I took of her. I think she had just had I think she had twins. Had just had her twins there, and she was happy in a great mood. And that's why when I said this off the top, she's not moving on. She's not being fired. She's not being asked to leave. I think she's 48 now. Her stock is long vested. She's a millionaire from having worked at Apple. It's been a long, hard, tough job for a lot of years for her. And she's taking off now to legitimately enjoy her, lack of a better term, middle years with her kids and with lots of money. So good for her. I have no problem with this whatsoever. Congratulations to Katie. The next question, though, is who do you think, Jim, is going to take over?
No idea.
You don't think? I see now. The people below Katie, Steve Dowling and Natalie Karras. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be one of those two. Whoever Tim Cook likes best. I wouldn't pick one or the other. Although Steve has chewed my ass off on multiple occasions. Natalie's always been very pleasant. But I think it's going to be one of those two people. I think that's who's going to step into Katie's shoes. You've dealt with both of those folks. Do you have a thought or an opinion on who it might be?
Nope.
You're a big help. Thanks. When you went to Ireland, what tech did you take with you? What laptop? What camera? What gear did you take? Did you travel light?
I traveled pretty light. I took an iPad Mini. I took a a MacBook 11-inch, and an iPhone.
Did you use those all on a regular basis, or did you find you could have left one behind?
No, I use them all.
If I had to make you leave one behind, which would you have left behind?
No, I need them all.
Okay, that's interesting you say that. What do you need the iPad for that you couldn't give it up?
Production of the magazine.
On the iPad?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that you produced the magazine on the iPad.
Well,
How about
I produce it on the Mac, but all the previews and everything are for different devices, so I need the iPad there. The iPad was also good at night.
Sure.
You know? So, yeah, but this one I tried to post, whenever I could, whenever travel allowed. Yep. So the Mac was great for that because it's quicker. I know everything there, so.
Did you have any issues with connectivity over there?
At the estate in Ireland, I did because the internet service really sucked there. But that's just because there was, like 200 people trying to connect.
That's right. Yeah, 200 geeks trying to connect. You can always that's to be an issue with every convention, everywhere around the world when geeks gather. It's just there's no way around it.
200 geeks with 3 devices each.
That's right. That's a lot of IPs, man. That's a hell of a lot of IPs. It's interesting that you say you couldn't do it without any of those. The other interesting thing that came out of your trip, and I want you to explain this to me because it's been around for many, many years. You've just joined Instagram.
Yeah.
Why?
Well, it's this new photo service.
It's not new, man. It's not new at all.
Yeah, and you use filters and put your pictures up, and then people like them.
Wow, that sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, you should join.
I shouldn't I? What possessed you after all these years to finally join Instagram? As opposed to Facebook. I mean, you post pictures on Facebook and Twitter. Why Instagram?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I know. That's what I do for a living, man.
And Michael Lopp did a talk over there on Instagram, and I didn't get to see it because I was doing my own stuff, but people were talking about Instagram. So I thought, when I get back, oh, geez, I got 162 followers. When I get back, I thought, I should give this a try.
Yeah.
So
when Instagram first came out many years ago, I gave it a try too, and then just didn't see the value of it when I had access to so many other ways of doing things, Flickr and Twitter and my own website and things like that. So I was asking you why you're going to use it. It's because of I've got other ways of posting that I don't need to use Instagram for.
I don't know. I wanted to give it a try because everybody was talking about it, and I'm pretty cool, so usually I just go straight to Facebook and do it there, but
yeah. Again, that's why I was asking. I was curious as to why you chose it after all these years. Why you chose that? One of the things I saw on your Twitter feed was that, and everyone knows, for better or worse, you're a big fan of Heineken, but you went out with the developer Matt. Is it Jamel or Gamel?
Matt Gemmell.
Matt Gemmell. To a Scotch tasting, to a whiskey tasting thing. And you're not a whiskey guy, are you? All the times I've known you, I don't think I've ever seen you drink whiskey.
No, all the whiskey I used to drink was Jack Daniels. So, I thought when he said whiskey tasting, I figured shots. You just, you grab it and just pound it back.
Exactly.
But, you get a tiny, tiny little bit of whiskey.
It's a taster.
And it costs $42 for one. So
when I saw Matt post that, I thought, "Oh my God! I wish I could have been there to see the look on Jim's face as he drank an eighth of an ounce of $42 whiskey." And just
it was very tasty.
What was it tasty? Did you like it?
The first one that we got. See, this is from the Whiskey Society, so you don't even know what brand it is.
Yeah.
They do, but you don't as you go through it. So you go through the book. of hundreds of whiskeys, and they take it straight from the cask and give you a little sample, and then you can buy a bottle. So based on what this was a 38-year-old whiskey that we tried, and based on the amount that we had, it would cost about 800 pounds or $1,600 a bottle.
Nope.
I didn't get one.
Monique wouldn't give you the credit card for it?
No, that's not happening.
It's tough to justify that kind of stuff, isn't it? I mean, I love whiskey, I love Scotch, I love Irish whiskey, but when you hear about those kind of prices, I can't imagine being able to notice a difference in taste between, you know, a good Scotch that I can afford to a insanely expensive Scotch like that. I don't know that you could actually, with our beer palates, notice the difference. I'm perfectly happy buying a $5 shot of Scotch, though.
I could notice a difference. You know, when
Really?
I had the first one, and Matt showed me how you're supposed to taste it and do all this stuff. So
yeah, you don't just shoot it.
Apparently you don't pound it back.
That's right.
So he showed me how to do that. So I did it, and the first one that we had was still expensive, not that expensive. I think it was 21 years. And it kind of burned a little, you know, in my mouth.
Cask strength, yep.
And yeah, well, these were, because they weren't blended, these were like 60% alcohol.
Yep.
So, you know, straight from the cask. And so it kind of burned a little. And the second one was just nice and warm. Maybe I was drunk by then, I don't know. The second one was very nice. It was a lot smoother. And I guess, you know, being 38 years old, some of the alcohol would have burned off, but it was still 45%.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I could feel a little buzzing in the back of my head.
So has this made you a whiskey drinker?
I wouldn't mind if I could get a whiskey that I knew. Now, the whiskey the one that I liked was Speyside. So if I could get a whiskey from that area, I'd probably give that a try.
Yeah, folks don't realize that both Ireland and Scotland in particular, have got various areas where they make various kinds of whiskey. And if you like a whiskey from a Scotch from one particular area, you'll probably like the rest of them from that area because they are very distinctive. I think there's 5 different whiskey or Scotch areas in Scotland, and I think 20 in Ireland.
Yeah, there was all kinds of them, and you know, I guess you like they're different strengths. There's different tastes. There's different everything. It was fun.
If you get a chance, check out the. I did an interview with these guys a few months ago. DrinkDistiller.com. I think you'd like this app because what it does is it recommends whiskeys based on things you already like. So if you know you like a Speyside whiskey, you can actually do a search for Speyside whiskeys. And this is an app on your phone or on the website. Website is drinkdistiller.com. What you can do is you can tell it, hey, I like Speyside whiskeys, recommend something for me. And it will give you a list of different whiskeys or different scotches. Or if it's Irish, it'll give you a list of Irish ones that you might, and then suggest other ones that are kind of based on that, and everything from low-price ones to expensive ones. It's really kind of a cool app if you want to explore whiskey. DrinkDistiller.com is the website. I'm
going to go check that out.
Yeah, do so. Let's talk about some other news of the week. The thing that I saw that just made me do one of those, no! Google Now alerts you if you're near a product you researched online. Don't want.
Man.
Can you, I mean, you know this is the future. You know this is what's going to happen. You know this is going to be more and more insidious in our lives. But dear God, the last thing rule I want is that. Because with my luck, it's going to pop up and go, the Vibrator store is just down the street. No.
Yeah, while you're on your first date or something.
Exactly. It's as MacMan in the IRC chat room says, that's creepy as hell. Yeah. It's definitely going to be the future, though. I mean, you can definitely see how advertisers really, really want to do this to us at some point in the future, and I will do all I can to fight against this. I'm not. I don't know what Google Now is, but Amazon wants to do it. I'm sure Apple would want to do this. I think this is part of what iBeacons is all about, except that, from what I understand about iBeacons, it's less obtrusive than Google Now. iBeacons you have to actually basically turn on for each instance, for each store, whereas this thing sounds like it's just going to be, as you're wandering down the street, your phone's going to buzz and say, hey, that thing you were searching for is now available down the street. Don't want this.
Yeah.
You're lucky living in Halifax. There's not that many stores to begin with, so.
Well, yeah. The only iBeacon is going to be, at the
liquor store.
Yeah.
The story I posted over at loopinsight.com a few days ago. Do you remember this? The battle for smoke-free planes?
Yeah.
Do you remember smoking on planes? Were you?
Well, I remember my father smoking on planes.
Yeah, me too. I remember my mom and dad smoking on planes too. And what a funny idea it is now. We think of this as being so quaint. It was 25 years ago. We think of it as being so quaint nowadays. But I remember people smoking in movie theaters. I can still remember as a kid having the visual image of sitting in a dark movie theater and seeing cigarette smoke going up in front of the screen, which was kind of cool. Now, as a kid, you're probably kind of stinky and foul.
Yeah.
But the idea nowadays of getting on, as bad as we all think plane travel is now, I'm a smoker, and I think that would suck being in a tube now with a bunch of smokers. Don't you?
No.
No, of course not. Of course you don't.
I mean, that's what I love Frankfurt Airport, because they have these smoking rooms in the airports.
So does Nashville.
I was nice and calm when I got on a plane in Frankfurt.
Yep.
When I came from Dublin to Frankfurt, I was a bear getting off the plane. And then I passed this smoking room, and they have them all over the airport. I was so happy. I tweeted the airport and said thank you.
You tweeted to the airport?
Yep.
What a nice guy.
The airport had a Twitter account, so I said, God, you saved my life and the life of the passengers of my next flight.
Do you know where you can do that a lot in America?
Where?
In southern states where there are still tobacco-producing states. North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, all those airports, there's still smoking sections because smoking is still a big deal. Tobacco was still a big deal in those states. I remember flying through Charleston, and you could smoke in the Charleston airport. Now, it may have changed since last time I was there, but at the time, it was like smoking back in the 60s. You could do it anywhere you could stand, basically. It was kind of interesting. But yeah, it's
Vegas.
Vegas, yeah, Vegas still has smoking sections in the airport too. But even as a kid, I remember thinking the smoking section was a stupid name for the area because they weren't cordoned off.
Yeah.
If you were the seat behind the smoking section, in front of the smoking section, you were in the smoking section.
Yeah. Well, if you were on any seat on the plane, you were in the smoking section.
It just seems so odd nowadays.
Yeah, it's just classic.
Do you know why? Do you know what the impetus was for banning cigarette smoking in airplanes?
No.
It was a plane crash in Cincinnati that was caused by a guy smoking in the lavatory, flicking his cigarette butt into not the toilet where the water is, but in the trash can, and causing a fire. That fire killed a Nova Scotia folk singer. Remember his name?
Oh.
Stan Rogers.
Rogers.
Yeah, Sam Rogers. He was on that flight that crashed in Cincinnati because of that, and that was the impetus. That was basically the straw that broke the camel's back to get smoking banned on. At that time, it was North American flights under 2 hours, and then a few years later, it was all flights in North America. For me, it's really weird that I don't crave a cigarette once I get on the plane. Like when I flew from Atlanta to Tokyo. No, I didn't need a patch. I didn't need nicotine. I didn't need gum. I didn't need anything. But the second I got off the goddamn plane, I needed to go outside.
Yeah.
But I had no cravings for the 18 hours of the flight, which I thought was really interesting. And
I just chew raw tobacco.
Yeah, stop me now. Oh God. Anyway, so glad you're back from the UL conference. I was watching your Twitter feed. You guys see you and Monique seem to have a great time. Facebook, you guys posted a bunch of pictures up there. So, folks, you want to see more of what Jim did in Ireland and Scotland? Check out his Twitter account. It is J Dalrymple. Also, he's on Facebook. You do a search for Jim Dalrymple on Facebook. Wasn't there a amplified podcast this week, or you guys doing it tomorrow?
No.
Not this week. All right. Jim has his own podcast. Regardless, it's over there on the iTunes store. Do search for Jim Dalrymple or Amplified. It's almost as he feels like it every week. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Hey, buddy.
Bye.
One of the things that I didn't, I kind of want to mention to Jim, but I don't. I did already privately, so I'm not going to do it publicly. His photographs. He goes to these really interesting, cool places. And then he takes completely average photographs. It's a real shame because he's got the ability to go to these really neat places. And I want him to take my photography class and learn how to take better pictures of these wonderful places. There was a picture, where did I see it at? Oh, on the Facebook site. So from my friend, our friend, Dan Frakes. For those folks who are in the Mac community, you recognize Dan Frakes, the name Dan Frakes. Dan did this great picture. This is a picture of his daughter. And she is scootering to school is the picture. And I tweeted, I Facebooked Dan and said, what a great picture. It's a happy picture. And Dan writes back, yeah, but it was out of focus because I was behind her. I said, no. That has nothing to do with the fact that this is a great picture. This is one of the things I teach about in the photography class, that there's a point of view. I think it was Ansel Adams said there are two people in every photograph, at least two people in every photograph. There's the photographer and there's the viewer. Sometimes those are the same people, but oftentimes they're not. And in this photograph, there's three people. There's Dan's daughter, there's us looking at it now, and there's Dan. Dan looks at the picture and sees that it's out of focus, and he's not real happy with it. His daughter would see the picture, and remember, I can't see her face, but with the big pink backpack on and the pink scooter and the little pink helmet, I got to imagine she's smiling. This is my point of view, that she's smiling in this picture, that she's got her dad behind her. It's a beautiful sunny day. She's going off to school. So I think this is going to be a real happy, happy picture. The picture tells a story from those three different viewpoints. The viewpoint of his daughter, the viewpoint of Dan, and my viewpoint of that this feels like a happy image. And that's what I tell folks in the class, that every picture, every good picture tells a story. And that's why you take the picture. That's why you point your camera at that interesting thing, is to tell the story. So keep that in mind whenever you're taking pictures, is you're going to tell a story with the image. And what is the story is the important thing that you should always keep in mind when you're pointing your camera. We talked about the Google Now product of that you don't want. The folks at TUAW posted one of those things that I got to say, don't ever buy this. This is an iPod dock for musical poops. Okay, first of all, I have never, nor will I ever, take my iPhone, iPad, iDevice into the bathroom with me. For sanitary reasons, for ick reasons, for the simple fact that there is a giant pool of water in there that you could potentially drop your phone into, Sly. I know for a fact RC Sly has done this at least once. But do you really need music this bad that you need to A, buy this product, and B, take your iPad or iPhone or iPod into the bathroom with you in order to have music while you poop? Seriously? I saw another one today. It was a Bluetooth shower head, a Bluetooth speaker shower head. And so the Bluetooth speaker was built in to your shower head. Now, maybe it's because I'm a guy. I'm not in the shower that long when I need to hear a bunch of songs. You know, I can entertain myself in the shower. I can sing to myself for a few minutes in the shower. I don't need a speaker in the shower head. So yeah, now I didn't look at this earlier. I got to check to see how much. It's called the iCarta. It's got 4 integrated speakers. Humanity is doomed, as the story says. I want to see how much this thing costs. This is up on. It's not even a real product. See, that's something else I effing hate about the Mac Web. This is not a real product. Okay, TUAW? It's not real. Until there's a price that someone can actually buy it, this is not a real product. Don't post news stories about it. God, that pisses me off. It's like these websites that post stories about Kickstarter projects. If the Kickstarter project isn't actually funded and can ship products, it's not real. If you're writing, TUAW does this, David Pogue does this, I hate it. Because what you're doing when you pimp a Kickstarter that isn't yet funded, what you're doing is simply giving free PR to the Kickstarter. And that's fine if it's something you like. I've interviewed 2 Kickstarter folks here on the show that weren't funded yet. But I did it because I really, really, really like their product. But I don't interview or talk about every single Kickstarter PR that comes across my desk. That's one of the new ways Kickstarters get promotion, is they ask, basically, websites to promote their product. Not my job. Sorry. Not my job. The other thing the other news story today this week I saw that TUAW had exclusive. Apple email servers glitch means you aren't getting certain emails. Now, for me, the story of this is simple. Don't use Apple's mail servers for anything that's important. .Mac, .me, iCloud, all those services. Just simply don't use them for anything you rely on, for bills, for business. If it's important, don't rely on Apple's mail servers. These things have been glitchy from the get-go. Always have been. Less so recently, but as this story points out, it still happens. And the problem is, it seems when Apple's mail servers glitch, they throw away mail. They don't let it back up. They don't bounce it back to the sender. They just simply discard it. So the sender sends you an email, and if it doesn't bounce back, the sender assumes you get the email. But if Apple's mail servers simply throw away, delete that email, you never get it, you could be in some serious trouble. It could be a job offer. It could be a bill. It could be any number. It could be a warning. It could be any number of things. Don't use Apple's mail servers for anything mission critical or important. You can use it for website sign up or spam or things like that. But if it's important to you, don't use Apple servers. All right? I'm begging you. Please don't do that. Many years ago, I did these things called Photowalks. Scott Kelby started, I want to say 5-6 years ago, what he called the Worldwide Photowalk. And these were actually kind of cool. Worldwide Photowalks were things that Scott, Worldwide Photo, I'll find the website. These were Worldwide Photowalk. Do a Google search for that. Find out what the website is. Well, Worldwide Photowalk. WorldwidePhotowalk.com is the website I'm getting from Google. The neat thing about these things were that Scott Kelby set them up, and you would join up with a group of fellow photographers to basically wander the world, wander your neighborhood, wander your city, wander around taking pictures of whatever you saw, whatever the organizer would set up for you. This is not exclusive to professional photographers. You don't need to be a pro to do this. WorldwidePhotowalk.com is the website. This is just for anybody who wants to go out and take pictures. You can go to the website and you can do a search. You can find walks in your neighborhood. If you're confident enough, you can organize your own walk. You can join up. You sign up for a walk. You can win some prizes. I think it's the usual stuff prizes to give away, but that's not why you go. You go to hang out with other photographers and take pretty pictures. So I've always liked going. Jimmy Newton. This is what I was going to say. Jimmy Newton. That New York photo walk, pub tour included, was a blast. When Scott Kelby, this was, I think, maybe the second photo walk. We were living in Connecticut at the time, and Scott asked me if I wanted to get involved. Now, not knowing New York City very well, I was like, I don't know if I want to lead a group. I don't know where to take them. Well, the previous year, we had gone on a literary pub crawl of Greenwich Village. And if you're ever in New York and want something neat and cool and different, I highly recommend this. What this was a bunch of students, theater students, actors, who took you on a pub crawl for around Greenwich Village, so all these semi-famous pubs that various literary figures had drank at, which is really kind of cool. And what it was that you went, I'm just doing a search for this now, literary pub crawl. Gotta spell crawl right. Literary pub crawl, Dublin pub crawl, London. Wow, I didn't realize there were so many of them. Dublin pub crawls. Do a search for the NYC one. There we go. Greenwich Village Literary Pub Crawl. They're obviously the original because their URL is Literary Pub Crawl. So this was a lot of fun. It was fun to go to these pubs and hear about what had gone on in the pub, the famous people who drank there. And so when Scott asked me to do this, I thought, oh, you know what? I'll get these guys to do the pub crawl, and we'll do the photo walk at the same time. And because I'm clever sometimes, I got the folks at iStock Photo to pay for the pub crawl part. I think I'm the only person, or at least I was one of the first people, to ever have his photo walk sponsored by another company. Thanks, and by the way, thanks very much to the nice folks at iStockPhoto.com for doing that. And it was a blast. And so I've always liked the idea of going on a photo walk. And what it is again, it's not for pros. You don't have to be a professional photographer. You can go on a photo walk with your iPhone if you want to. It doesn't matter what kind of camera you have. And only the douchiest of the douches will look down his nose at you if you pull out a point and shoot, or an iPhone, things like that. The idea is just to go out with a bunch of people and take pictures. And you take pictures of whatever it might be that interests you. For example, this past Saturday, I went on a photo walk with the folks at meetup.com. You can do a search. You can go to meetup.com and do a search for photo walk in your area. Photo walk in Vancouver, photo walk in New York, photo walk in whatever it might be. And the folks there, there'll be an organizer, one or two organizers, and they'll do various areas. So in this case, it was Chinatown. And actually, it was Chinatown in the rain was the idea. We wanted to go to Chinatown when it was raining. So you meet up at a pub or a coffee shop or whatever central location, and you just wander around. Now, usually the organizers have a sense of what to look for, or they've been there before, they know the neighborhood. Or like us, we live in Vancouver, we know about Chinatown, we've been through Chinatown 1,000 times. Hey, let's just go wandering around Chinatown. I think there was 20 people who met up, and a whole wide range of shooters. There was definitely a couple of pros there. There was definitely several amateurs and enthusiasts, whole range of cameras, everything from point and shoots up to big pro rigs like mine. I mean, guys with tripods there. I mean, these were some serious shooters and some not so serious shooters. And so we just went wandering around. And it was kind of cool because, like I said, having lived in Vancouver many years ago, for many years, I've been through Chinatown all kinds of times. I always liked Chinatown, but I've never shot in Chinatown. And when you're going on one of these photo walks with the express idea of looking around to find images to take, it's a whole lot different than if you're just wandering through an area. A photo walk helps you focus on photography, on taking pictures. That's why you're there, as opposed to just walking through the neighborhood or just going to the mall or just wandering through the woods. The idea is to take pictures, and that's why you're going on the walk. And so that's why I like Photowalk, because they really do help you focus on what you're shooting for. And as I said, our goal was to shoot in the rain, and so I had this mental image of these rain shots that I wanted to take. These water dripping off of awnings and wet streets and wet people. Didn't happen, unfortunately. We still had a lot of fun. We still had a lot of fun hanging out. And then at the end of it, we did probably about a 2.5, 3 hour walk. And at the end of the walk, we all met up at a pub, and we just sat around talking about photography. And again, the pros helped the beginners asked questions. It was a lot of fun. It was an absolute blast hanging out with this group of people and hanging out on a Saturday morning, shooting these folks. Interestingly enough, and as I said in the pre-show, this is very typical of, I think, most ethnic neighborhoods. And correct me if you know I'm wrong. I've always found Chinatown people, if you're not of the neighborhood, if you're obviously not Chinese or not Asian, they're not smiling at you a whole lot. And then again, people in general aren't going to really smile at a lot of cameras. The other aspect of a photo walk that helps a lot too is that you're more comfortable in a group. Now, we're not all walking as a 20 pack of people, sort of this mass of people walking through Chinatown. You walk at your own pace. But you do feel more comfortable taking pictures of people, of stores, of things when you know there's other photographers around you. There was actually several stores where we're on the sidewalk and we're pointing a camera into the store, and the people in the store, obviously the store owner or the workers, were waving their hands. No pictures, no pictures, no pictures. Oh, sorry, I'm allowed to take pictures. I can take pictures of anything I can see from the sidewalk. If you don't want me to take pictures, you better close your doors. But you feel more comfortable doing that when there's other photographers standing near you, standing around you. So that's one aspect of the photo walk that's a whole lot of fun. Chinatown is really fun, if only because of the odd food we see there. And we say odd because we're Westerners and we don't necessarily understand what these things are. Like, these weren't potatoes. I don't know what they are, what they were. I have no clue what those things were. But there's in Chinatown all kinds of live fish. Some really cool. I got some really neat shots of live animals. There's some red snapper and some lobsters. And at one point, we watched the guy cut off the head of a live fish, and the head kept flopping around. Not the body, but the head kept flopping around. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool in a weird kind of way. But Chinatowns are always very colorful. Again, they've got exotic fruits and vegetables and roots and nuts and berries and things that you have no clue what they are. But you take pictures of them anyway because they're kind of neat. The other aspect of it I really liked and was able to take advantage of was the idea of, especially with this Olympus, with the Olympus OMD EM1, I'll refer to it from now on as the M1, that because it's wireless, we sat down at the pub and I pulled up my iPad and I was wirelessly able to take the picture we had just taken, like moments before, take the pictures from the iPhone or from the M1, drop them onto my iPad, and then edit the photos right there on the iPad, sitting in the pub while we're having a beer. And I was able to show the other photo walkers this. Some of them hadn't heard of Snapseed before, so I showed them the Snapseed thing. The photos I took with my SLR had to wait until I came home. Now, yes, the camera connection kit would have allowed me to do that, but I can't find my camera connection kit. I have no clue where the hell it is. But it was kind of neat to be able to, and then as I took the bus home, as I took the SkyTrain home, I was able to look at some photos and edit them, crop them, turn them into black and whites, use Snapseed on them right there on public transit, which is really kind of cool. It's really fun. It's interesting, and rather than just sitting around on the train doing nothing, I was able to do that. This is something interesting. Jimi Hendrix Shrine. I did not know that Jimi Hendrix, yes, that Jimi Hendrix, spent a great deal of time in Vancouver in his youth. He's from Seattle, those you may know, but I think either one of his aunts or his grandmother had a Southern-style restaurant, cafe here in Vancouver, in a place called Hogan's Alley. You may have seen the signs previously. Hogan's Alley was the black neighborhood of Vancouver. And he spent his summers here with his, so I think it was his grandmother. So he spent his summers here with his grandmother and actually went to school for a short period of time here in Vancouver. So I never know. I've been walking through Chinatown for 12 years, but I'd never gone to that end of Chinatown and seen that Jimi Hendrix shrine place. I didn't realize that was down there. The other fun thing with the M1 was I saw as we were leaving, as I'd been walking away, I took some pictures of a bunch of kids who were with a little skateboard park underneath one of the bridges. And I wanted to see how the M1 took shots of action, of motion. And it did a pretty doggone good job. I was very impressed and very happy with the higher speed stuff. I'd still go to the Nikon D600 for really, really high speed stuff. But the M1 did a perfectly good job of getting some very, very good high speed shots. So I'm very happy with that camera. Really enjoying it. Lots of stuff. Ryan Monroe, lots of stuff to photograph. Yeah, there's lots of stuff to photograph in any exotic location. You know, hopefully, whether it's your neighborhood, whether it's a different state, whether it's a different country, you'll always be able to find things that are different that you can shoot. And I've been thinking about this, how to describe this to you guys. People say, you know, you have a good eye. Well, you have to have 3 good eyes in photography. You have to have a good eye before you raise the camera to your face, because you need to be looking around to see those things you want to take pictures of. So you have to be aware of your surroundings, looking around. I look up a lot to see things like this this hotel sign. That's where I missed it. But you want to look around for those images. You want to keep your eye open to look for these signs and people and colors. You can't just walk straight ahead. For example, this sign here was on the opposite side of the street. If I hadn't been looking around, I wouldn't have seen the sign. If I hadn't been listening, I wouldn't have heard the border, and I wouldn't have been able to walk over. If I hadn't looked around a corner, I wouldn't have seen this Hogan's Alley cafe. So you have to have a good eye in the moment and looking around you. Then you have to have another good eye, your second good eye, when you lift the camera to your face to frame the image, to compose the image, to make sure that the elements in the picture are the story you want to tell, that there's no distractions in it. There's no weird background. There's no funny things. For example, this image of the Chinatown gate, I waited for that guy to get in the middle of the gate. I saw him walk across the street, and I wanted to get him in the middle of the Chinatown gate. So that's your second good eye. Then your third good eye has to come when you edit the photo. Here's a perfectly good example. This was heavily snap-seeded because I really liked the grungy look of it. So when you bring the photo into your editing software, whether it be on the iPad or your Mac, you have to have a good eye to see how to make that picture pop. So you need 3 good eyes when you're taking photographs. So keep that in mind as you're shooting. Look around you. Keep an eye out. Keep looking up. Keep looking down. Keep looking around you. Don't just get focused straight ahead. But if you have a camera, keep an eye out for interesting images and things that are going on around you. If you're interested to learn more, we have a Starting Point Photography beginner tips and trick class. It's going on this coming Saturday. And I know it's going to be a difficult time for some folks. The class is going to be at 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon Pacific time. 3 p.m. Saturday afternoon Pacific time. And the reason why we're doing it at that time is because one of our listeners, you heard me mention his name before, Jason Painter, who is in Sydney, Australia, was the first guy to set this up. So we're doing it on Jason's time. I think it's going to be like 6 p.m. Sunday in Australia for Jason. So we're organizing it around his time zone. So we've got 2 more slots. We've got 3 people already signed up for the class. I don't want to ever do it for more than 5 people at a time because then I like it just to be a little bit smaller. So if you're available at 3 p.m. Pacific time on Saturday afternoon, send me an email, Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Remember, YML subscribers get 10% off. If you are a year-long subscriber, you get the class for free. Any one of these classes that I set up, you can join in for free. And if you prepay your subscription to Your Mac Life for a year, you also get the class for free. So keep those in mind. This also, by the way, is a great time I don't know. Is this a good Mother's Day gift? Do you think this would be kind of fun for your mom if your mom's likes taking photographs? I don't know. It might be. But it's springtime. This is a great time to get out there and start taking photos. It's a great time to take pictures of flowers in bloom and spring, puddles and rain and trees and stuff. So if you want to learn how to take better pictures of springtime, let me know. Send me an email to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Speaking of emails to that address or on air at yourmaclifeshow.com, we get emails from you guys. This one's from Scott Randall of the Long Island Macintosh User Group, Lie Mug, my favorite mug. He says, Shawn, I've got a MacBook Air with 64 gigs of storage, a 1.7 i5 processor, 2 gigs of RAM. I use it when I teach my college class. I have a Mac Mini, which I've upgraded with an SSD drive and 8 gigs of RAM. The Air runs Adobe InDesign, Illustrator without a hiccup. I've also done some light Photoshop work on it. I've never seen it lag. If you're going to do video editing, you might need the power of a MacBook Pro. This is last week we were talking about the MacBook Air. As for the Retina screen, you said previously that you could not see the difference. Now you're waiting for an Air with Retina. I have looked at a 13-inch Air and a 13-inch MacBook Pro side by side at the Apple Store viewing the same files. I can't see a difference either, except that the photos are slightly more vibrant. Without seeing them side by side, I would not miss the Retina screen. The second thing, I find it a bit creepy that someone can take your picture without your permission. Maybe I'm just overly sensitive, but that is how I feel. Let's do one thing at a time. First of all, the MacBook Air Retina display. Scott, you're right. I have said in the past, and I'll stand by it, I cannot, if you put a Retina display side by side, I would have the same reaction that Scott did. The pictures would be the colors may be a little more vibrant. That being said, I say I won't buy a MacBook Air unless it has a Retina display for resale value. When you want to sell that computer, if you want to sell that computer at some point, say 3 years after you buy it, the value of it will be higher if it has a Retina display. That's why. If I needed an Air, I would buy an Air right now. I don't need an Air. So if I was going to buy an Air, I would wait for Retina display, if for no other reason than that. And if colors are more vibrant, and I'm a photographer, I would like to have that available. But right now, it's simply for resale value. And Scott says, I find it a bit creepy that someone can take your picture without your permission. It might be creepy. I don't know that it is, but I can understand your point of view. But understand, too, that you are in a public place. Remember, we're only talking about public places. I'm in public. Whatever I can see in public, I'm allowed to shoot. No matter whether it's your face, your kid's face. Again, I said this before, if I can see into a private place, like the stores down in Chinatown, the stores are private property. But I was standing in a public space, and I could see inside the store, therefore I was legally allowed to shoot inside that store. Yeah, some folks aren't happy about having their picture taken, and that's fine. You can be unhappy about it, but don't think that what they're doing is wrong or illegal. It's perfectly legal for someone to take your picture when you are in a public place. I want to say thanks to all the folks who have sent me birthday wishes today. I didn't necessarily want to mention it on the show, but I also wanted to acknowledge all those wonderful folks, whether you send it by email, on Twitter, on Facebook. Thank you guys very much for the email wishes and happy greetings. I appreciate that. Get emails from, sorry, why is that there? There we go. Douglas Pasnak says, whenever I see, why are these, sorry, I'm getting all kinds of, somehow my emails have gotten mixed up. There we go, that's better. Jason Painter, the aforementioned Jason Painter. We were talking last week about the 4 terabyte Seagate drive that we interviewed the folks at Seagate about. And he says, that 4 terabyte Seagate, that's the shallow end. This is my primary storage drive, an 8 terabyte Thunderbolt Western Digital drive. He says, I've got a Mac Mini with a 500 gig internal with little on it. It's pretty much just a system drive. The big drive stores my iTunes library, which is about 6 terabytes. He has an iTunes library of 6 terabytes. I back both drives up via Time Machine to an identical 8 terabyte drive. For secondary backup, I use Chronos Sync to make a bootable backup of the system drive to an external 500 gig USB 2 drive, and ChronoSync again to mirror the contents of the 8 terabyte drive to an 8 terabyte Gen 2 4-bay Drobo. I also store video that I don't want on my primary storage drive in a set of 3 terabyte, 2 terabyte, and 1 terabyte drives. They're also backed up by ChronoSync to drives the same size. The next phase is to get the secondary backup offsite. The Drobo hates to be moved, so I need to replace it. I don't use a cloud backup solution because it's impractical for me, but I do copy all my photos to Flickr. I got a friend onto this, and she's just finished uploading over 40,000 photos. It only took up 8% of her free 1 terabyte of storage. Yeah, that's the thing. Flickr is giving you a free terabyte of storage for your photos. You got to take advantage of it. If for no other reason, then it's the place to dump your photos. As he said, his friend, Jason's friend, 40,000 photos, only using 8% of free space. Use it. Grab it. It's free. Do it. But he's got a remarkable amount of storage. I'm just counting up. So he's got 2 8 terabyte drives. That's 16. And he's got 3, 4, 5, 21, 22. He's got 22 terabytes of drives at least. That's pretty amazing, man. Malcolm Fitzgerald, what's the best way to use the optical drive on the Mac from an iPad? Is there a way to plug in a DVD and watch it remotely using the iPad? No. You can't plug in a DVD. You cannot watch a DVD directly on your iPad. There are a couple solutions. One of them is to turn the DVD into a file that your iMac can recognize using probably iTunes. So you can use Handbrake or Visual Hub or Video Monkey. There's a whole bunch of free apps out there that will take that DVD and turn it into a file, digital file on your hard drive. And from there, you can use iTunes to dump it onto your onto your iPad. What I do is I use an app called, where is it? Quickly, let me find it. Air Video Server HD. Let me just get their URL. Air Video Server, I love this app because what it does is it allows me to have files on basically my desktop, on my hard drive, that using the software on the iPad can watch those files that are on the hard drive of my Macintosh. The best part about it is I don't have to fuddle around with iTunes and creating files that need to be in a particular way, a particular format in iTunes. Any video I download, YouTube videos, MKV files, AVI files, whatever it might be, Air Video can let me watch on my iPad or my iPhone or on my Apple TV, which is really kind of cool. So I can watch them, and you can even watch. I've never tried it. You can even watch them over the internet. Now, Brian Monroe says Video LAN. I've never used Video LAN, so I don't know if that one works. But that's something else that you could try. But I recommend Air Video HD, if nothing else, to try that. It's for Malcolm Fitzgerald. Other emails we got. There was something else here. I've forgotten where it went. Oh, I think we mentioned this on last week's show, but Roddy Paws who says, you talked about it on the show, how do I set up my computer to automatically upload photos to Flickr? Talking about Flickr and being able to send stuff directly. You want to back up all your iPhone images, all your iPhone, your iPad photos. The best way to do it is to do it automatically. And the way you do that is with this thing called I should do a video, or someone's got to do a video about this. IFTTT. If this, then that. So IFTTT.com. what it is it allows you to do a bunch of things automatically in the background. So you go to ifttt.com, and I'll do a search for Flickr. If I can spell Flickr right. So it pops up with all of these different, what they call recipes, 2,387 different recipes. You have a recipe for uploading new Instagram photos to Flickr. Photos added to a specific iOS album get uploaded to Flickr. Upload all photos to Flickr. And the neat thing is, you can check out these recipes and just see how they work. So, for example, this is the one I use by J Yarrow. Upload all iOS photos privately to Flickr. And this is cool. What it does is it automatically uploads any picture I take on the iPhone to a private section of Flickr for me. So it means that if you go to my Flickr page, you don't see these photos unless I make them public. So what I can do is just take pictures, and every now and then I'll go to Flickr and go, oh, that was a crap picture. I'll delete that, delete that, delete that. And then if the ones I like, I can turn them public. But this will do an automatic backup for you of your photos. I also have all my photos automatically backed up to Dropcam too. And now there's a new service called Copy that I have started to use as an additional backup. So now I've got 3 online photo backups. I've got Flickr, and I use that one so I can show the pictures to other people. I've got Dropbox as one backup, and then I've got Copy as a second backup, or a third backup actually. And the reason I like this is now I am almost 100% certain that I'm not going to have a problem if I lose my iPhone. If something happens that means I can't get at my photos, if I lose the iPhone, if it crashes, if it whatever might happen, I'm very confident now that I'll always be able to have backups of my photos. So it's one of those things that you should do, especially because it's so easy to do. It's real simple to set these kinds of things up. And the folks at Copy, let me just get their website. It's copy.com. If you use my code, I get an extra, 5 gigs of storage space. So I've got these kinds of things. I'm just going to grab this code for you folks who are in the IRC chat room. If you're in the IRC, you can check it out. So this is the kind of thing that because it's so easy to set up, I highly recommend you do it, and not just for yourself, but do it for your significant other's phone, for your wife's phone, for your boyfriend's phone, for your mom's phone. Do this, because all this stuff works in the background. They don't need to know that it's there. They don't need to know how it works. It just happens. I can see a situation where you would set up a Flickr account for Mom. Mom didn't even have to know anything about it. Set it up under her name, but use your details. And then set up an IFTT recipe on Mom's phone. Mom takes a picture. It posts it to Flickr and then sends you an email that says the photo was posted. Now, depending on your mom, you may not want this. As the thought comes to my head that you may not want to see private photos of your mom. So maybe you need to warn Mom you're going to do this, or Dad, or your wife, or your boyfriend, or your husband. Maybe you want to, or maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't know your life. I don't know. I'm not getting in that. I just realized I'm going to shut up and back off this whole line of questioning, just because I could feel myself slipping deeper and deeper into an area I just didn't want to go. Man, that could have gotten me in so much trouble. Also, mention this on the startingpoint.com website. If you're interested in getting upgrading your phone, sorry, not your phone, upgrading your camera. If you want to move from, say, an iPhone to a SLR, or you've got a point and shoot and want to move up to the front of an SLR, Canon or Amazon has got this really great deal on the Canon EOS Rebel T3. This is probably one of the two most popular beginning SLRs. It's only $400, and it comes with a lens, 1855 lens. So that's really, really good price. It is a perfectly good SLR. It's a great beginner SLR. Nikon has one on the same price range. Really good beginner cameras. So if you're looking to get an SLR, if you're thinking about wanting to move up from your iPhone or your point and shoot, I highly recommend looking at this Canon EOS T3, the Rebel line, as they call it. Like I said, Nikon has got another one in this range. Same with all the manufacturers. Olympus has them, Panasonic has them, but this is a good deal from Amazon.com. As always, if you shop on Amazon.com, we get a bit of a pimp fee if you buy stuff. So that's the other reason why we use Amazon.com. Did you guys hear this story? When hitting Find My iPhone takes you to a thief's doorstep. This is in the New York Times last week. Sarah McGuire lost her iPhone. Oh, poor thing. You gotta feel bad for her. She did Find My iPhone, and then went to the house that the iPhone told her, that the Find My iPhone told her iPhone was at. Okay, maybe it's because she's 26 and is in the bloom of her youth, but she's a moron. You've got to assume that this person has stolen your phone, that they have made off with your phone. That being the case, why would you then assume this person is willing to do you harm to prevent the police from coming to their house? Now, granted, she said in the story that she called the police, and I gotta believe that this is. I would like to know more about this. She says, let me find it in the story. She said that she called the police, and the police told her to go ahead, but call us if you feel in danger. I said, I got to do. What would the cops say that? You know, maybe in L.A. they would say that, but I can't imagine why the police would say this. I'm trying to find it where in the story. She knocked on the door. It was swung open, revealing a large man about 30 years old. I think you have my phone, said Ms. McGuire. The man denied this, but she pressed him and insisting the GPS had led her to that address. The man ducked back inside. Now, at this point is when you leave. Finally, he returned with one phone. Apparently, her and her friend had lost their phones. After more negotiation, he came back with a second. Unsure if the danger was over, so you felt like you were in danger to begin with. Folks, don't do this. Seriously, don't do this. It's not worth it. Your phone isn't worth it. Your life is not worth your phone. If you lose your phone and Find My iPhone says it's here in a stranger's house, call the police. If the police say we're not doing anything about it, you've lost your phone. Go buy yourself another phone. Or go to that place with other people, preferably people my size. Okay? If you're a cute little 26-year-old white girl, don't do this. This was really remarkably stupid of her. Just don't. It's not worth it. It's my God. It's so not worth it. And especially in America, with a large number of people having guns. It's not worth it. We're talking about Photowalks. I just got an invitation to a Mother's Day photo walk at the George C. Rifle Migratory Bird Sanctuary. Well, that's kind of cool. I actually might go on that one. I found this on the meetup.com website. It's a website for all kinds of things. If you want to meet up with friends who are cat fanciers or whatever it might be. But go to the meetup.com thing in your area and just do a search for your city and for photo walks or hiking or badminton or whatever it might be. And there'll be a group of people there that will be into that kind of thing with you. I didn't go on the first walk that they offered me. I sort of waited to see how people were shooting, how they talked about it, and it's not a talkative group, the photo walkers. But they were a nice group. The 10 or 20 I met on Saturday. Plus, you get outside to meet some new people. It was fun. But this one at the bird sanctuary out in Delta. No, it's out in Delta. Well, so much for that idea. I can't get out to Delta. That's like a 4-hour bus ride for me. But yeah, they do photo walks all over town. Vancouver's a beautiful city, so especially if you live in a nice area, I definitely encourage you to go. Folks, that's it for tonight's show. Still trying to get the folks at sharebuilder.com to come on the show. We had scheduled the president of the company, but he had a previous commitment that he had to bail on us. So hopefully sometime before the June 2nd stock split, we'll get sharebuilder.com to come on the show to talk about what all that stuff is. As I mentioned it more and more of you are either asking me questions or pointing out things or saying they've used the service. It's really interesting. I'm more and more interested in sharebuilder.com. The worst part is it's a U.S.-only company. You can't sign up to sharebuilder.com unless you were in the U.S. I wonder if there's other... If you are outside the U.S., do you use a service like this to buy shares that you can buy partial shares in? You can have them take $20 out of your bank account every month and buy 20th of a Apple share or any other company share for that matter. If you do, let me know. Send me an email to Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Folks, as always, thank you guys very much for joining us, whether you're being tuned in via the live show and one of the cool people in the IRC chat room. I want to thank always folks in the IRC chat room, or watching via the Google Hangout, or whether you are a YouTuber or listening via the archive. I always appreciate you guys being tuned into the show. Thank you guys very much. As always, until next week, I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!